This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FY Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Todd Shea, the founder of Comprehensive Disaster Response Services. He's a wonderful person. He plays music. He's currently doing some humanitarian work in Pakistan. What a wonderful story. We're delighted to have you. We're honored to have you on our show. Thank you very much for coming.
So, thank you for having me, Frank. It's really an honor.
You're most welcome. Tell me a little bit about this. What inspired you to found the Comprehensive Disaster Response Services, and you travel 10,000 miles from here to Pakistan and doing this humanitarian work in a very difficult circumstance from America to Pakistan. What a wonderful, tell us a little bit about that to the audience, and so they'll be inspired, so they serve the country and the community and make sure that the people get inspired by your story. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it shouldn't hurt to be a child, and there's a lot of suffering children in Pakistan. And of course, in many places in the world, there's suffering children, but kind of my journey to Pakistan started actually on 9/11. I am a musician and have played music all my life and never dreamed that I would do operational disaster response work in any way, shape, or form, except maybe as a musician helping to raise funds doing some concert. And
so you are on the ground working with the people there?
Yes. So on 9/11, I was in in New York City to do a concert. And I had been signed by Sid Bernstein, who brought the Beatles, Rolling Stones to America. He recently passed away. So he was working with me, and I was supposed to play at CBGB's nightclub on the 12th of September. I woke up in my hotel the morning of September 11th, thinking I was going to go rehearse for the show, and I saw the Twin Towers on fire. So for the next week, I spent...
no turning of a season can diminish the pain and agony of that fateful day.
No doubt, no doubt. It was a horrible day, and I felt that I had to do something to help. Otherwise, I was going to go crazy. So I went and helped.
To serve the humanity?
Yes. I went there and I started helping. Mostly what I did that whole week was bring supplies and set up supply depots right at ground zero for firefighters and law enforcement officers and anyone else who was working in that area to rescue people or to recover remains or to clean up debris.
You did that to serve the community, to serve the people who were suffering and struggling and sacrificing.
Yeah, I just felt that I had to
on your part as well.
Well, to me, the way I looked at it is that I just had to do something to help.
Well, thank you very much for doing that. We appreciated that very much. So this is how you got engaged.
That's how I started with doing disaster relief. I realized I was very good during that period to getting logistics and supplies together. And I also realized that people who are trained to go into burning buildings and doctors and people who save lives, if they don't have somebody taking care of their back line and their needs and their comfort and their food and their supplies, their electricity, their logistics, everything that they need in order to do their job, if they don't have that person or those people behind them, then they have to do it themselves, and that takes away from what they're trained to do. So I learned on that day and during that week that logistics is very important. So later when the tsunami happened in Sri Lanka, I went to Sri Lanka.
You went to Sri Lanka?
Yes. I offered to go to India, and they said they didn't need anybody. They had everything in hand. So then I joined a group that was working in Sri Lanka and in Banda Aceh, Indonesia. So they sent me with a team that was working in Sri Lanka.
Who are they?
It was called Global Crossover.
Okay, I do know them.
Yes, they do wonderful work with education and teaching English in many countries. And so they put together a tsunami relief effort, and I joined them. And
so you went from Indonesia. You went to Indonesia, and so who paid for your, for your transportations and your living expenses and so on and so forth?
Actually, a dear friend, Al Sirowitz, who was an associate up in New York with Sid Bernstein.
Yes,
he paid for my flight when I went to Sri Lanka. I didn't go to Indonesia, but the group I was working with, they went to both places, but my team went to Sri Lanka. I got home from Sri Lanka, and Hurricane Katrina happened. So I went to Hurricane Katrina and worked there. Then, and I did some
so you
logistics.
Went to Louisiana?
Yes, I did some logistics with the U.S. Army 82nd Airborne.
Yeah,
we were attached with them at the Algiers Naval Station. And then 2 weeks later, when the waters went down, myself and Jim Kushner, a friend of mine who I work with, he's an ex-Marine and we do disaster relief work together. Well, we started rescuing cats and dogs, kutas and billies, for all the the people who speak Urdu out there.
What made you travel to Pakistan then?
Well, literally the day that I got back from working at Hurricane Katrina was October 8th. And I just walked in the door of my son's home in Gaithersburg, Maryland, gave him a big hug, sat down to a pizza, and we're sitting there, turned on the television, and earthquake in Pakistan is all over the news. So I put down my pizza, I put down my guitar, and I said...
You traveled all the way to Pakistan?
Yes, I called the Pakistan embassy,
okay.
And I asked them, I said, if you know of any team of rescuers or doctors coming from the States, I'm willing to volunteer. I've been to these other disasters, and I just got back from Hurricane Katrina. So it was the DCM at the time, Aslam Khan.
Yes.
Muhammad Aslam Khan. He was the person I talked to, and he gave me the number of Dr. Atif Malik, a pain specialist that works here and in New Jersey.
Sure.
So I joined that team right away. I called Dr. Malik, and within a few days, I had joined the team.
You went up on the top of the mountain.
Yeah, we were up on the mountains
so how did you survive
in the Kashmir region.
The cold, desperate, dark, and hopeless world? I don't mean to say hopeless.
Yeah.
A little bit cold and dark and desperate in a sense.
Well,
compared to America.
Yeah, one of the things that I found in Pakistan almost right away is that the people there are resilient survivors, and they appreciate when you are there to help them. They have a lot of love and they want to be hospitable. Even people who lost everything would, in order to show their appreciation, they would make sure they gave you a cup of tea. Wow. Even if they had nothing, they would find a way.
That is the part of the Islamic faith.
Yes.
That's a wonderful thing to do. So you survived.
Well, I mean, I was by that time pretty, used to tough environments in these other disasters. No air conditioning in the hot, no heat when it's cold, no sleeping bag. All the comforts of life being gone. No, I think that Allah gave me some gifts, and one of them is to survive in tough conditions, and also probably one superhuman gift He gave me was that I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep in the extreme cold without a blanket. I can sleep in the extreme heat without AC. I can sleep for an hour or 20 minutes, cat nap, and I can be re-energized. I can sleep in a Jeep bumping up and down on a mountain ridge.
Potholes.
Anything. And that has given me a lot of ability to rejuvenate and rest in these disaster zones.
So let me try to shift the gear. First of all, thank you what you do. And as an American, I think it shows a different face of America. An America that's engaging, that's trying to help the others and support others.
Sure.
And as President John F. Kennedy said, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yes.
So what you're doing is a great thing. So tell me a little bit about your organization. Where is it located? And how the people can engage, and also what other organization do you work in the U.S. and globally?
Sure. Well, we're registered in Pakistan under the Societies Act of Pakistan.
So it is not registered in the United States to be tax exempt for the IRS. Is it or not?
Yes, I'll explain that to you.
Okay, please do so.
So we're registered in Pakistan under the Societies Act. We're a tax exempt organization in Pakistan. Then we are sponsored by two organizations here in the United States. One is Global Giving, which is right here in Washington, D.C., and we have been a project on their system for the last 7 years. And we are a superstar rated agency, and they're a great organization. In fact, I would check out globalgiving.org, not only for Pakistan, but for any disaster in any country that needs help. They have projects that they support.
Okay.
So we have due diligence checks and audits, program audits through them. We report to them quarterly, every quarter, and show our work and our budgets. And they provide a 501c3 tax exemption to the donors. Then there's also the International Education and Welfare Society. Mr. Sagir Aslam, one of the founding members of the Muslim Public Affairs Council, he has Saba homes for orphan girls that he started after the earthquake. Him and his lovely wife, they went after the earthquake and moved to Pakistan. But they built a business over many, many years in Southern California, and they used their nest egg to help these 40 orphan girls. And so I'm partnered with them. What a
wonderful thing to do.
Yes, he's a wonderful man. And so his 501c3 registered organization in America is called the International Education and Welfare Society. And so they also sponsor us. So people that donate to us either through Global Giving or IEWS, they get a 100% tax deduction.
So how do you go about raising the funds?
Mostly because I am in the field working on ground. I don't have this big fundraising mechanism and marketing team. So my son, who by the way is right now in Thar Desert, helping people who have been starving and children who have died.
That's the promise of Sindh in Pakistan,
yes.
Correct?
So my son is there, he's 23 and he's been working with me. So we're always working on these types of missions. Unfortunately, Pakistan has had a lot of disasters. I've also been in the last few years to Haiti, Japan, and just recently came back from Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, where my son was also with me. So we do a lot of disaster relief work in the emergency phase in other countries. And right now, hopefully we'll grow and do work, long-term work in other countries, but our long-term projects right now are in Pakistan. And I basically come back for a couple months in the spring and a couple months in the fall.
To rejuvenate and recharge,
and
then go back?
No, not really. I mean, I'm fine as far as that, but to meet with the community, particularly Pakistani Americans support me, and the Pakistani Americans who support me are mostly doctors and volunteers who've seen my work on the ground. They've come and they've worked with me. They go back and they start chapters of support, and they raise funds for me.
So Todd, if the audience, which is the Pakistani American, for that matter, a lot of other people in the audience who are watching the show, how would they get engaged and involved? And how do they contact you to get involved with this thing?
Sure. Well,
can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, you can go to www.cdrspakistan.org, or you can go to YouTube or Google and put my name, Toddshea, Todd Shea, and you'll find all kinds of different articles and information about my work.
And how do they contact you?
They can contact me from the website, from cdrspakistan.org, or they can just write me at toddshea@cdrspakistan.org, or they can call me. My U.S. cell phone always has voicemail on, even when I'm in Pakistan, so they can call me at 718-809-5381. And you know, the Pakistani American community has been wonderful, and they have been the key support for my work. But anybody out there in any community that wants to support children in Pakistan, regardless of whatever's going on in Pakistan, there is, and unfortunately, we hear about 2% of the truth 100% of the time about Pakistan. There's millions of innocent, beautiful children there. So anybody from any community that wants to support children so they're not suffering, Pakistan is one of those places that they can help. And I have one of those organizations which has a track record of transparency and audits every year, self-imposed, so that we can show and prove to everybody. All that is posted at our website and they can see it.
Right. So you have a musical background.
Yes.
So what do you play?
Well, I play guitar and I sing, and I basically have tried to use music to show, to highlight the work that we've done. So I've worked with artists like Rahat Fateh Ali Khan and Sanam Marvi.
Oh, yes.
And we're doing music with them. We're putting them with U.S. musicians and Western musicians
and my understanding,
to make music together.
This music that you play guitar and you recite in Urdu, which is ghazal. Am I correct to assume that?
Well, we do both English and Urdu.
Okay.
So the whole idea is to use music to bridge divides, to bring people together from different cultures and different countries, to erase misconceptions, and then use all that to raise awareness, funds, and support for children who are suffering.
Now,
that effort is called Sonic Peacemakers.
Sonic Peacemaker.
It's a different project from Comprehensive Disaster Response Services. CDRS does the relief work and the humanitarian work on ground, and Sonic Peacemakers uses music to help that effort.
Well, what you do is really inspire all of us in the community as well as the audience, and that shows a face of America that is not violent, a face of America that is willing to help the other.
Absolutely,
and especially the children who have so much to give.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm there. Although there are people who think, oh, Todd Shea is there for 8.5 years. He's a white guy American. He must be CIA. He must be doing this. He must be doing that.
It's unfortunate. That is the face of America that you are not that part of that face of America.
I'm not part of that, no.
However, this is a concept over there, which is a misconcept.
Not only over there, but here too, by some people.
Yeah, that bothers me. They are misguided by that. Yeah. But all the good work you do, you should not be tagged as a CIA agent. For that matter, you should not be tagged as a...
I have some homework for any of your viewers who have any doubts about my work. Call me and ask me. No question is off limits. Look at my audits and talk to the people that I've worked with for years on ground in Pakistan. And then they'll see that there's no, I don't have a a big bank account. I don't even own a home in this world. I have a guitar, a laptop, a few books and clothes, a 96 Chevy Lumina that's falling apart. That's all I have. So people can check me out, and I'm happy to have them check me out.
That's a wonder. Your precious possession is related to giving and sharing.
Yes, and what I collect instead of my own money in my own bank account, instead of that, I collect the smiles of children.
Oh, that's a wonderful thing. God bless you, and thank you very much for coming. We appreciated that, and I hope your message will resonate well with the millions of people in the audience.
Inshallah.
And it says something about America sharing and giving back, and especially what you do for the children. They are the hope for tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And this is Frank Islam wishing you a great week. Thank you for watching.